How you guys doing? This is Joey.
This is Joshua.
I'm Elizabeth.
And you are listening to Drunken Discourse. Our friend Elizabeth, I guess I don't know how to go into that. What are you comfortable with being discussed?
Oh, I just simply tell people that I'm a woman who was born with a hormonal condition called being male.
Yeah, there you go.
And I've sought to repair it over the years.
Yeah. So we're here to just kind of hear about her life, her discovery of her identity, the trials that she's faced, and just kind of share them with you guys. Like Joey talked about the other day, this is your podcast. We want you to tell your stories.
I'm going to hit you both with something just right off the bat before we even get started. Just icebreaker. Start with Josh.
Okay.
What is one thing you have never been comfortable enough to ask someone who's transgender, but you want to know?
Okay, so the thought of physical surgery to reach transition. Okay. I have not heard a lot of explanation as to, does the community see that that's something that's necessary or inevitable?
No.
Okay.
And the reason is because each person, there's different terminologies and stuff like that, and it depends on what corner of the internet or real life that you go on or dwell on and stuff like that. But typically, rather than the old way it was sex reassignment surgery, medically now it's typically called gender reassignment surgery. A lot of us just call it bottom surgery as just a catch-all term between trans men, trans women and stuff. Right. Because the thing of it is, with gender reassignment surgery, there's at least, it's probably more, but there's at least 4 different techniques to go about doing that. And it's very complicated. But the thing of it is, not every transgender woman or transgender man actually feels bottom dysphoria bad enough to go through it. And a lot of it is not necessarily that you don't feel dysphoria about it. Some people don't. Some people don't have any association with it and stuff like that whatsoever. But it's just that to some people it doesn't matter. To some people it does matter, but it's completely unobtainable for some people. Because the thing of it is, especially if you are a homeless transgender woman of color who's having to be a sex worker on the streets of New York and stuff, how are you going to pay for it? Yeah. Even if you felt terrible dysphoria and stuff like that about it, the just sheer act of doing other stuff, there's black market ways to do it. There's ways to get other stuff done, but that is a very particular, very specifically expensive thing. And the other thing is, a lot of people, especially cis people, that's most people, don't understand that there are already significant changes that go on with your nether regions with just hormone replacement therapy. I have not had bottom surgery yet. I don't know if I will. That's kind of one of those questions that I don't answer for anyone, because it's not just something you do on a whim. You don't just go to Walmart and say, let me get some milk, some 22 ammo, and gender reassignment surgery. It's not a quick thing. It's much easier to buy a gun in this country than to have a surgery, which is an indictment. Anyway, the thing of it is, though, if both of us, right here in front of Joey, were to whip out our private parts, they would not look nor function the same way. They don't actually have the same properties. And a lot of people don't understand that. There's a common joke about what about the mouthfeel, but boy dick and girl dick is a different animal. And a lot of people don't understand that. And that's kind of because it's uncomfortable to talk about on both ends of the spectrum. Not a lot of transgender women would be comfortable talking about themselves down there unless, it's with someone who needs to know the information. Right. Yeah. Basically, I think most transgender people live by the 3F rule of life, which is if you ain't feeding, fucking, or financing me, you don't really need to know anything about it. Yeah. But for instance, just something as simple as the way they feel. The skin on my genitalia would be much, much softer than yours, because I no longer get nighttime erections. I no longer get involuntary erections. It doesn't happen with us. A lot of times it's not a thing. So your body will like continuously do yours to like keep your blood flowing there and stuff like that. My body's like, yeah, we just have an Audi pussy up here, basically. Is the way that it thinks about it. So a lot of people just don't even understand that.
Meanwhile, our genitalia compels us to start empires and enslave people and kill. And
I could actually get fully excited and fully involved with somebody and go all the way through the sex thing, and I could actually just not get hard, and that's fine.
Yeah.
And you can do the whole experience and stuff. It is a fantastic experience to be able to just decide to stop masturbating because you have to go to bed. It's not like a firework. You don't have the whole like the build up and it's done. It's not that way.
It's like you're playing Zelda or something.
Yeah. So that's one misconception that some people have is like, yes, it's that some people don't necessarily feel the need. A lot of people do, but don't have the resources for it. But the other thing too, though, is even if you somehow have the money, a lot of people, I don't think, know the sheer pain and recovery time that goes into something like that. You're not going to be going to work or doing anything for a month.
Oh,
it's no.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. It's a lot to it, and some people are just more willing than others to do what they have to do. I personally have spoken to a transgender woman. By the way, that's the proper term that a lot of people prefer. I don't say trans woman or trans man. I say transgender woman or transgender man because it's an adjective. I'm not a trans woman. I'm a woman who happens to be transgender.
Okay.
A man is a man who happens to be transgender. It's just an adjective. So that's the whole thing. It's the same thing as if I said someone was a white man or a black man. Neither of those people cease to be men just because of the adjective in front of them. It's the same thing. So future reference for a lot of people. Some people don't care. Everyone's different, but a pretty sizable consensus I've seen seem to prefer it that way.
I have this really unfortunate, and I think it comes from a good place, but I have a very unfortunate habit where, like, you're just a woman to me, like straight up, and I would not refer to you as a transgender woman or a trans woman. It's like you're a chick to me, and the thing is, I have this very kind of like strange Stanley Kubrick hallucinogenic world I live in, even though I don't take hallucinogens, where...
You've never bought DMT to try to get in a girl's pants?
Not at all.
It's pretty effective.
Not at all. Here. I've been coached on it, but not... I'm fed up with labels, and I think it's not because I don't think that identity is important. I think it's just because I grew up in a very... I guess you could say kind of a slurred society where everybody has to be the soup can. Everybody's got to be what they appear to be or what they act like.
On the label.
And on the label. And the thing is, it bothers me so much because it's like I have this like obstacle in my mind where if I end up having a label drilled into my head, I'm now having that person's juices, like, you know what I'm saying? Like the coolness of that person strip mind out of the conversation, and I don't like being brainwashed into dehumanizing people. And the thing is, that's what it takes for somebody like me. And I'm not afraid to admit that. Like, I'm still, a cis white boy from Alabama, and, just like I think every other, well, I won't even say man, every other person on this planet has got some pretty toxic stuff in their brain. And I think what it is, it's just like, you're a chick to me. Mm-hmm. And I wish that the people out there that have a less nuanced way of looking at things could just look at it along those lines.
Well, one thing that I have is I have what I refer to as passing privilege. Passing privilege. Yeah. And by that, I mean that if someone doesn't tell you, if you had not met me before and Joshua just introduced you to like his friend Elizabeth, and we sat down and had a meal together,
right?
Would you have any suspicion whatsoever I was transgender?
Not at all.
Yeah. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that I, for lack of a better word, developed very well with like hormone replacement therapy. I actually am spilling out of a D into a double D already, and that's without any kind of breast augmentation or anything like that. I have a full testosterone suppression and stuff, so I have an hourglass figure, and I'm very full figured, and I have smooth skin and soft lips and all that kind of good stuff. So everyone's seen me, like where I work and stuff like that. Nobody has any suspicion whatsoever. So the thing of it is, if I don't tell someone, they would never assign that adjective to me in the first place.
Right. So
the thing of it is, I don't tell people. There are people who I work with right now who have no idea. And it's one of those things where I basically decided to play it on Dark Souls fucking hard mode because I transitioned on the job and I didn't change places I was working. I had secretly already set up a lot of stuff, and I used something called a circle system, which was the best way I could think of to come up with, which is I told my closest friends first in my life and people I worked with. And basically I practiced the conversation essentially, like with people. Like I stumbled over it with some people, and other people like it was fine, but basically I talked to my closest friends, and then I talked to my closest people at work, regardless of whom they were. And then I told my department, and basically I went from there. I built out in a larger and larger circle until finally I told my general manager at my store that it was time. And they said, well, okay. So we worked together, and we actually made an alert, a notice that was, both of us felt was appropriate. They felt that it was informative but succinct enough. I felt that it had all the information that I wanted, and we posted it up in every employee-facing department. And the other department managers, they all learned about it and stuff. They pulled their teams aside, and they had individual conversations with everybody. I had 2 days off of work.
Right.
So basically, I came to work on a Sunday as we'll say Bill, as Bill, for the last time, and had 2 days off work and came back on a Wednesday and was Elizabeth. And I surprised a lot of people because actually by that point, I was actually wearing a binder every day and a hoodie to hide breast development. And I actually was wearing makeup to look masculine because I didn't anymore. Enough so that my ex-wife didn't want to kiss me or be intimate because she said that it was gay. But essentially just, she's not into women, and she's like, it's like kissing my friends from school. It's weird. And I understand. So at that point, I was actually applying makeup to make it look almost like I had a 5 o'clock shadow. I was making my eyes look more tired. I was fucking my hair up specifically so it would look like more messed up. I was doing everything I could to look more that way. And so I had 2 days to prepare, and I came back as Elizabeth, and I didn't do any of that. And it was an immediate, holy fuck. Oh, wow. And pretty much that's about the hardest way to do it. I don't know of many people who did that. Most people end up changing stores that they're in, companies, whatever it might be. Most women who are transgender that I've spoken to actually move states and just show up to the new place as whomever they are, work there for a couple months and then come back, or something like that. A lot of people end up doing that. So I kind of decided, fuck all that. And the thing of it is, I've had exactly 3 clients since then who have actually been able to tell it was me. And all 3 of them have been really cool. The other people that, I mean, I've been working in my position since the early 2010s, and I've helped like a ton of people. I have people who I've reintroduced myself to, and they do not make the connection. They don't see it like whatsoever. The 3 that have, one of them is actually and I'm probably going to butcher her name. She's actually a Baha'i Christian from Iraq. And she's very nice. And the only reason I'm comfortable saying that is because she'll never listen to this. And she was very kind client. She actually used to bring me homemade lunch and stuff like that. Like, you know, like just things like that. And she saw me and she ran up to me and said, you know, oh my God, you're beautiful. You look so much happier. And she said, I'm so happy that you're happy. And so I didn't know what to expect. I kind of was like, oh, this might go one way or another. And she just hugged me. This was before COVID. And she just hugged me and was like, oh my God, it's so great to see you like this. And so that was like oh, damn. Okay. Another one is a family, and they always come in. All 4 of them always come in. And I've literally seen the 2 daughters like basically get all the way through high school into college, and like been helping. So it's really funny. And basically showed up. I saw the husband and wife talking to each other, pointing, looking, and both of them looked at each other, gave each other this like stern nod, and walked up. The wife looked at my name tag and said, "Hello, Elizabeth." And continued on with our relationship like it had never left off, but with my new name. They never mentioned it.
That's fucking awesome.
And that's kind of the best thing to hope for.
Yeah.
Another guy, the third is my favorite. He is basically the best way I can describe this guy is he would be the type of redneck who would not vote for Trump because he's a city boy. That kind of extreme, just
those are my favorite rednecks because like they're the ones that go, I ain't voting for some billionaire.
Well, it's like
I love those guys.
It's just like someone said something about Hank Hill voting for Trump, and people are like, "You think Hank Hill would vote for a man who eats well done steak with ketchup? You're out of your fucking mind."
Not to mention Hank Hill believed in climate change.
Yeah.
Come on.
Basically, this guy is the most Hank Hill person I can think of. Right?
Hell yeah.
So he happened to come in sometime in October, and I hadn't seen him for several months. He came in, he noticed it was me, but he kind of had this look, and then he was all like I could see the 2 + 2 = oh, it's Halloween and stuff. And he's like, well, damn, you're pretty, and like, you know, slapping on the back, it's like, that's great. And I said, yes, thank you. And I did my thing. The wife looked at my name tag and used my name and continued on with the conversation, asked me the thing. And the guy suddenly started to click in his brain. Yeah. This is not a Halloween costume. It's too early for this. Yeah. And I could see him as I was talking to his wife, I could see him in the corner of my peripheral there doing the like up and down, the like, yeah. Oh, wait a, okay. So he walked over to another coworker of mine, and the coworker he walked up to happens to be a really close friend of mine, who I actually talked to and knew about all this kind of stuff beforehand. He goes, "Hey, them over there, them," pointing at me. Yeah. And my friend said, "Oh God." Yeah. Yes. It's like, that ain't no Halloween costume, is it? And coworker said, "No. Elizabeth is transitioning, and used to be Bill, and is now this person, stuff like that." Right. And kind of explained it in a very surface way. Yeah. And he saw the guy's face going back and forth. He said he could just see the gears snapping and dust pouring out. This machinery that hadn't been used in years is suddenly working again. He goes, well, I don't want to offend them, her. They do really good work, and I don't want to lose them. They're the only person I want to work with. What do I say? And coworker just informed me, you just be normal. Just use her new name. He's like, okay. So he came back over to me. Now, I got the rest of the story from there. I just noticed this guy just walk away and come back, so I didn't know what was happening. And he just smiled at me the entire time. He used my name like 15 or 16 times, like basically using it every opportunity. I helped him with this problem he was having. And he left, and then my coworker came over and said, Elizabeth, holy shit, come here, girl. Oh, God, let me tell you, we just broke that man's brain. I was like, what?
He's ruined.
He's come in several times since then, and we've actually had very good conversations. And he said, can I talk about it? I won't bother you if I talk about it, right? I said, no, sir, it's okay. I understand. Like, I understand. He's like, well, he said, I had a whole hell of a lot of opinions, and boy, was I fucking wrong.
Yeah.
I said, how do you mean? He goes, I had a whole list of things concocted in my head about people like you, and I come to find out it's all bullshit, and it was because I didn't know anyone like you. He said, if transgender means someone's like you, then y'all are the best fucking people in the world.
Hell yeah.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And he's told me on multiple occasions, and I know he's serious, that I've completely changed his mind on a lot of stuff. Apparently he's reconciled with a son that he has that's LGBT, and stuff like that since then.
Awesome.
So that's the thing is, even if that's the only reason, this man who would have just believed anything he read on Facebook, about whatever opinion about transgender people, now has a positive thought about us.
But that I think, and this obviously I can't give you statistics on this, but I really, in my opinion, just from experience, I really do believe that a majority of the people out there, even the most hateful bigots, I'm talking about the Zieg-heiling skinheads, they literally have one thing standing in their way from feeling like that guy felt. Changing his mind and having a full heart. Literally, most of the time, it's one or two opinions that are just ill-informed.
Most of those guys, especially like the Nazis and the white supremacists,
like the white power guys.
It's mostly because the only experience they have with transgender women is the pornography they watch.
Right.
Which is about power, and statistics prove that. That's all there is to it.
Yeah. I mean, the violence and all the horrible things that you see that bigotry produces.
Yeah.
A lot of it is about power. I mean, it's like I never dabbled in any kind of ethnic supremacy, but I was a very hateful kid. I was a very angry young man, and literally other people's happiness made me sick, and because I just had a complete anti-human. Like I probably listened to Sepultura just a little bit too much, or maybe like something, I don't know, but it is meeting people that aren't like you. And I'm not just talking about transgender people or gay people, or if you're a guy that primarily hangs out with men, you end up with a female friend. It could be literally just meeting somebody that just has a different emotional viewpoint.
Right.
And it's like, it is like an electrical charge. I mean, it's literally like bringing a dead body back to life.
Yeah.
When you think that way.
One thing that I have members of my family don't understand is I like to argue. I like to debate. So I like to be around people who don't believe like
You're
me
at the right table.
Because I feel as though if you have an opinion or belief and you cannot stand up to scrutiny in any way, you shouldn't have that opinion or belief.
Right.
Yeah.
It's very,
you're misrepresenting it.
My father has been a lot more supportive than my mother has been, to say the least. my mother has actually gotten remarried since I've come out, and I was not invited to the wedding. And she is still lying to my new stepfather, still uses my old name and pronouns, still only shows him old pictures, and I think even still says that I'm still married, even though I've been divorced since 2019. So basically, that's been a very awkward relationship. I thought that our relationship was going to be fine. Personally, I did. I thought that, like, my mom has a best friend who's gay. She watches a lot of drag stuff, in all honesty. Goes to a lot of like alternative like clubs and stuff when she goes places. Basically, is the reason I watched The Birdcage when I was a kid. So I thought she was cool with a lot of stuff or whatever. And at first, like, when I talked to her, she said that I was dumb for not telling her sooner. That, like, she absolutely loves me and accepts me. And then she didn't suddenly, and it was very strange. My dad, on the other hand, when I told him, my sibling was with me, and my sibling had a gun, just in case.
Yeah.
It didn't go. I'll be honest, I love him to death, but I did not know how he would react.
Yeah.
He hugged me, said I love you, and then left. And then the next day, I had my sibling tell me that he never wanted to speak to me again.
Oh.
And I was prepared. I was prepared to accept that. I was prepared for that to happen.
Yeah.
And then later that same day, he called me. Said, "Will you talk to me?" I said, "Yes." And talked to me for like 48 minutes to an hour about just everything and stuff. And asked me a few questions. And I said, "Do you really want to know the answer to that?" And he said, "No." And I said, "Then don't ask me, because I'll tell you." And over the course of everything, it's been very difficult with he and I. But he's done a lot better at trying to understand. So I still hang out with him sometimes, like typically away from some of my other family members who suck.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where we'll have arguments about different stuff, like typically like political and stuff. And he'll bring something up and he'll cite whatever dumb thing. And I said, Google that and find a source that is not on Facebook. And
or related to Fox.
And he can't. He can never find it. He absolutely hates it. He'll spout some nonsense the CDC doesn't even believe in masks. And I'll just scream, "Citation needed," in the car. It's like, Find it. Go to the cdc.gov right now and find it. And of course it says something different. And I'll see him in the corner of my eye looking at his phone and putting it away because he doesn't want to admit it. So it's one of those things where, like, I don't mind discussing things and stuff like that. Like, I'm okay with people having a difference of opinion. Now, that has a limit, because if someone's difference of opinion is that I shouldn't exist, or I should be put in a camp, or I should be murdered, then that's not really a point worth contesting or contending with, in all honesty.
Exactly.
And it's like when I told him, he basically asked the question, well, what's wrong with white nationalists, and what's wrong with fascists? Like, what's wrong with the people? Like, what's so bad about being proud of being white? And I said, well, really nothing, except what goes on around that.
What comes after it?
I said, you have to ask yourself why. Why would a person be proud? Like, what goes into that? And he's like, well, so like we'll have those discussions. So except that the people that you can point to that have those beliefs have a lot of other opinions about other races. It's like, it's typically not their opinion about their own race that's the problem. It's their opinion about all the other races. If someone just said, yeah, I'm okay being a white person, well, I personally think that's their choice and they can do what they want.
Right on, dude.
As long as
it does as long as he doesn't say it in German.
Right, right. So it's one of those things of like, it's like, okay, hard disagree, but sure, whatever.
Yeah.
But so like when I would point out to him that a lot of the people that he was defending had tendencies to murder people like me.
Yeah.
And it was one of those things of it wasn't getting through. I said, okay, said, you're a cis white Christian. Okay. So what if someone came to power? Let's say I said there was suddenly a revolution and the Socialist Rifle Association gave everyone who made under $50,000 a year an AK-47. There was a revolution. And suddenly we found a disabled trans woman of color was the new leader of the world. And she decided to just inverse everything. So she decided that straight white cis males would be treated exactly how transgender and gender nonconforming people are right now. How would you feel about that? He's like, well, I don't. I said, okay, let me ask you this way. If because you were a Christian, an insurance company didn't have to cover you, how would you feel about that? He's like, well, that's ridiculous. I said, is it? Is it? I said, it might be ridiculous now, but in 30 years?
Yeah.
Oh, no, not so much. So he really thought about it. He's like, well, I don't think people would put up for that. I said, okay. So the only difference between Christians and trans people is that you have people who stand up for you. We don't. He's like, no, that I don't believe that. And I was like, okay. I said, so let's think about it then. If she came out and she said, if you're a Christian, you're going to be executed, and you had to argue with her, what middle ground would you come to between your opinion that Christians should be just left fully alone and able to worship or murdered? Where's the middle ground that you're comfortable settling at? And he's like, there's not any. Like, okay, so that's why I don't fuck with fascists. Because there's no middle ground to you need to be murdered or thrown into a camp.
Yeah.
There's no middle ground I'm willing to accept. There's not a position. There's no centrist position. I said, if there's a table, I said, the old saying used to be, if there was a table with one centrist and 9 Nazis, there's a table with 10 Nazis. But truthfully, if there's a table with 9 centrists and 1 Nazi, there's a table with 10 Nazis. It's really how it goes now. I said, so that's why I'm so aggressive against these different policies and stuff.
Right.
And he's like, well, he tried to say the thing. I said, well, the thing with the medical rights, and I explained to him, I said, how is it that we are prioritizing one group's, I said, here's the thing. I said, the argument that people actually use against transgender people and gay people, that it's a choice, actually does apply to Christianity. Being a Christian's a choice.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
So, but somehow it's a protected choice.
Yeah.
So that's very odd to me. So I don't know. I don't know where I was going with this train of thought. It's just, I find it very odd that in this country we are more willing to protect the rights of something that is a choice than the rights of something that you don't have any control over.
Yeah. Well, I can definitely throw in on that. I myself do identify as a Christian. I'm definitely a left-leaning Christian.
So you're actually like Jesus.
Yeah, I'm actually, because that's the thing. It's kind of like when you read the New Testament and you look at the passion that he had for people, which is honestly what does compel me to believe he was the Son of God, because not many people have compassion. It had to be coming from God, but I don't believe that. I do believe that morality is an instinct. But the whole thing is that, like, with Christianity, when it's misrepresented, when it's mispracticed, you go in all sorts of strange directions. Like C.S. Lewis called it the stained glass effect. When you become bored with Orthodox faith, which is what I practice, and you end up adding the kind of political spectrums to it. Christ didn't, and I know there are probably plenty of people that will hear this and are not believers, and that is totally okay with me. I would never condemn anybody to hell unless you want to move in with me, because then it's already happened. Congratulations, you're probably dead.
It's like that song. Oh, hell is a place on earth.
Yeah. It's like hell is other robots. But the thing is, if you really look at it the way it is, it's very conventional and it's very simple. It's very easy to practice. It is put others before yourself, no matter what. And, the New Testament obviously has weird verbiage, but I love the way this says this. It says, plead the case for the widows and the orphans. meaning no matter what, take care of those that are less fortunate than you and that have had things taken from them. Your religion is made perfect when you plead the case for the widows and the orphans. There is no middle ground to that. And when you do that, when you put that at the forefront of your mind and what I believe to be the soul, when you make that your perspective, you literally do become, and I know this is obviously an excuse that closet racists like to use, but you literally do become colorblind. You become ethnically colorblind. You literally start to view people through their deeds, through their merits, through what they've been through. And I put emphasis on what they've been through because institutional racism does not mean there are roving bands of SS running around killing black people with rifles. That's not what it means. What it means is that these people weren't given, like people of color in general, weren't given the head start that white people were given. And now they're constantly trying to play catch up. And there is a cabal of people that are trying to prevent that. That is the definition of the Americanized institutional racism.
Right.
And I think the same thing applies to transgender people.
Well, it does. And in fact, intersectionality is actually valid as far as like when it comes to trans rights too, because the thing of it is there's been, I believe, last count, over 20 transgender women of color who've been murdered in this country this year so far.
Yes. I've seen that.
Some very graphically, such as a young woman who was dismembered and shoved into a suitcase, and things like that. There haven't, to my knowledge, from what I could find, I looked earlier today, I couldn't find any white trans women who've been murdered. Now, the thing of it is, we absolutely do face discrimination, 100%.
Sure.
I don't think most people would say that they want to do over as a white trans woman. That being said, though, despite that, I still look at it and realize that it could have been much harder for me. I was in a position in my life that I could give up my family if I had to. Mm-hmm. Some people don't have that choice. Some people live in an area that
economically requires them
exactly
to live with their family.
And there's nothing to do. Like there's nothing for it. Some people do live in cultures that are more that are a little bit less laissez-faire than America is, to say the least. And so, like, there is that whole thing about it too. That like I'm able to recognize that. I'm able to recognize the fact that like it's difficult. It does suck having to go around and basically, I don't want to say lie or hide, but no, I'll just say hide part of who I am from people because of where I live, not wanting to get murdered or assaulted, essentially.
Or just harassed. I mean, come on. I mean, it's just,
right.
It's bad enough.
But I also have that option that a lot of people don't.
Yeah.
So I recognize that. I recognize the fact that I am in a job that I can afford medical insurance, so I'm able to go to a doctor who specializes in trans care and has for over 2 decades. I don't have to black market, buy them off the internet, and go off of like the advice of Reddit like some people do. So there's one of those things of like, I think in any category you're in, even if it is a protected class, you need to look around and realize that, like, if I just took my existence, I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. I'm not gonna like cover it with the rose-colored glasses. I am divorced and I lost my marriage of many years, a third of my life, because I'm transgender. So I lost my spouse to it. I lost my family, other than my sibling who I'm close to. All of that went away. I don't have Facebook, and I won't let myself have one because Mark Zuckerberg is a piece of shit in the first place. But also because I don't want to have the conversation with people I graduate with. People who I graduate high school with, for all I know, think I died in an accident or something. I have no idea what they think. So I've basically lost my spouse, I'm cut off from my family, cut off from the people that I went to like school with and stuff like that. Like there's 2 people I went to high school with who know. And one of them is in a motorcycle thing and one of them lives in San Francisco. So like it's, they're not exactly like around here. So I have that like going on for me. So I have to be careful at work. So it's a couple things that I had to give up a lot from my life in order to be who I want to be. Right. But that being said, I recognize that there are people who have it a lot worse than me. And I want to do what I can to help them out. If I just went by my experience, I would just say, well, the normal everyday person is totally cool with me. I would just walk around with my passing privilege and just be like, well, everyone's nice to me and I'm transgender, so transgender people must have it pretty good. Like certain Republican transgender people on YouTube do. But I'm able to recognize the fact that I basically won the genetic lottery, as it were. And that doesn't mean that other people did. And there's still a lot of work to be done.
Absolutely.
And that also doesn't mean the fact that tomorrow something might happen and I might suddenly be on the receiving end of, for like a butterfly tramp stamp that, is how they put you in the camps. I don't fucking know. Like, I really don't. I don't. Like, I just, it's recognizing that my experience isn't universal.
So it's interesting the way that you use the word privilege. Most people, unfortunately, a lot of people hear that word privilege and are immediately offended because their life isn't exactly easy. And,
those conservative snowflakes.
So I would really like to hear your explanation of someone who has a lot of hardship but still recognizes privilege. Explain the definition of that to someone.
So privilege, typically, what I mean by that is a privilege. Privilege and a right are 2 different things. A right is something that is universally recognized and stuff like that. It's the best way I would say to it. So, like, we have in this country the right to free speech, which extends for the government. However, you also have to have the privilege of free speech depending on where you are. And by that I mean is if you are in someone else's home, you don't have a right to speak.
Because they have a right to ask you to leave.
Right. They can grant you the privilege of being able to speak in their home. And it's kind of how I look at it, is it's factors that are not within your control necessarily all the time that enable you to do something that others might not be able to or might have a harder time. So for instance, just coming down to like privilege, like say for instance I was going to go work at Communist King, flipping red patties all day or something like that. Despite the fact that might be a shitty minimum wage job and they may not grant me health care because I'm transgender, I would have an easier time of getting that shitty job over a transgender woman of color, or even just a person of color in general, because of my skin. I would more than likely, these are just going based on statistics and the way that people are fucking racist. I would more than likely become a shift leader or, whatever shitty thing about this shitty minimum wage job. So even in a shit situation, like having to work at a minimum wage job, having white skin and passing privilege gives me an advantage.
Right.
The thing of it is, not every transgender woman has that power. They're not necessarily, white, especially around here, like, here in the South, like, a lot comes down to people who are black, but the reason we say people of color is I have had a hard time talking to one girl who is Indian, from India, and talk about family cutting me off. Just like literally threw rocks at her head. Wow. And stuff. Just absolute, just fucking biblical times, fucking stone.
Yeah.
Just like amazingly bad. And so people in the South are decidedly, casually racist against people from India. Like without even like. So the thing of it is, this is going to sound crazy, but I almost think that white on black racism is almost stronger up north because of people's ignorance, because they don't live with as many people, especially like I've lived out west, and there's so few like people like who are black out there that a lot of people's like racism just comes from just absolute just ignorant. Like I've been asked questions because that I was just literally like, are you like stupid? Are you actually like dumb?
The
like,
racism in the South, I just to interject, I think the racism in the South is so commonplace that it's almost not even hateful. It's not like
it's ingrained.
It's literally, it's not even conscious.
Yeah.
And then you have like, I mean, if you actually look at the statistics, the meanest hate groups in the country come from California and New Jersey. The Hammerskins, Atlantic City skinheads, those kind of guys. In the South, we just have really stupid preconceived notions of people of color.
Right, and see what I was getting at is like people around here you may have people who are actively racist dickheads.
Right.
Most people, because of proximity and stuff like that, can recognize when they're being racist. White people can recognize when they're being racist, and I know that because they look over their shoulders both ways.
Right.
The thing of it is, people are just casually racist in the South towards people from India or that part of the world, because they always will come in and they'll say stuff like, well, I don't want to talk to those like people on the phone because I can't understand what they're saying and they're just stupid and this and that, and they'll just say just absolutely just ignorant, stupid, racist shit, and to them it's not even racist. Like they don't even think of the person as another race, and that's kind of like what I was meaning by that. Like around here, it's like people know when they're being shitty to black people in the South. Absolutely no, and it's a conscious choice.
Right.
But they're just ignorantly stupid, casually racist towards anyone from basically the Arab or Indian world, like around here.
Yeah.
And then, oh my God, Asian people too. Like I realize that like Asian people may have some form of privilege in some parts of the world, depending on where you are. That being said, in the South, no, they're all. Oh God, I've heard the worst.
It's really bad.
The worst shit.
My brother's ex-wife was Korean, and I mean it was just the comments that I heard, and I made one comment because she was always really funny about making her being Asian, herself being Asian, a point of humor, and a little. I guess I could throw some humor in here. I don't even remember how to do it anymore, but whenever she would visit my grandmother's house for Thanksgiving, there was a piano up against the wall. She would walk in the room, and I would go ding 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 on the piano. Yeah, it's horrible.
Wow, that's yeah.
But she found it hilarious. And finally one year she went, "Why do you keep doing that?" And I went, "Because I don't have a gong." And she spilled out in laughter. And the thing is, that's the problem. That's the problem. Is that because I had that one healthy comical interaction with this person, you end up, that bleeds over into the world at large, and you think, oh, this is just understood. This is just okay. And then, and see, that's the biggest problem, I think. I don't want to say the world doesn't have this problem, but Americans have this huge problem. I don't believe in censoring comedy. I don't, because I think it's a fucking joke. I mean, it's, for me, it really does come down to bringing humor out of a dark situation to make it more easy to digest for the common person to understand it. I think that's really important. But at the same time, when you make light of something, when you make it just, oh, that's just a thing, it's funny, it's just a matter of fact funny. No. It's like, because here's the problem. This girl who was married to my brother, very sweet, wonderful, intelligent, fun to be around person, I give her credibility. I give her respect. But normalizing the idea of making her the butt of the joke can become a habit, and it can become contagious.
Yeah.
And see, that's kind of the deal, is that people don't catch that. They don't really get that.
So, okay, back to the thing of privilege.
Yes.
So, with that, so say for instance, I can think of like a specific scenario as far as like privilege goes. If I'm with, if I was hanging out, if I say I was on a date with another transgender woman, and say she didn't pass as well as me, and I'm not saying I'm the most beautiful woman on earth. I'm not. I'm just saying that I know that I passed because I go throughout my day-to-day life doing it.
Yeah.
I don't just think everybody in Alabama is just woke enough to use my right pronouns at the fucking like gas station or whatever.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like that's not what's going on. It's because people see me as I am.
Right.
So if I was out with another girl who had just started or something like that or whatever, and people started saying transphobic shit about her,
right,
I would have a choice with that privilege that I have of either not saying anything and letting it happen and kind of comforting her afterwards, or of basically... You see, so I'm saying it's a very uncomfortable situation.
Privilege turns to platform.
Correct.
In that moment.
So it would be one of those things of, like a good way to go about it would be like, oh, wow, you guys are saying a lot of shit about her. What do you think about me? And it's like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. Like, I've thought of like situations like that thank God haven't come up, because I'm also socially awkward and I don't know, like, I don't deal well with confrontation. I would, like, so that's the thing though, is like recognizing that, like, I could be next to someone else and like, it's a struggle that is not mine to claim necessarily. Now, that being said, there are plenty of things that I'm not privileged with. And one of those things is most people don't have to do an HR claim because a coworker walks into the break room in front of several other coworkers who you're having lunch with, who all happen to be female, and says, "Hey, when are you having your dick chopped off?"
Yeah.
So I haven't had that happen to me. So that being said, that's really bad. But I didn't get hit in the face with rocks.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's I think privilege, just the best way I could like sum it up is recognizing that you could have got hit in the face with rocks. I think is the best one, like just probably the best thing to say. The fact that I'm alive, the fact that I still have most of my body parts. Those toes I didn't need anyway. It's just excess weight. It's like it's one of those things of like recognizing that. I think that's privilege, is when you have something, or when you're able to infiltrate a part of society without question of belonging. That's privilege. So for instance, if you didn't always dress like you smoke weed, you could probably just go in anywhere. You could go into the Alabama Auburn store and you'd probably be okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. You could probably go look at some footballs or whatever people do in the store, the football stores. I don't know. I don't go in there. And that'd be okay. So privilege can also be contextual. Because say for instance, because you're a white dude, mostly, no, like you can walk in, either one of you could walk into the Alabama Auburn store and pick up anything off the shelf and look at it and, you're fine. If either of you walked into Victoria's Secret and did the same thing,
right,
that would suddenly be weird. You'd get those sidelong glances and stuff like that. You'd get those like weird looks and stuff like that. You'd get asked questions like, "You getting something for your girlfriend, your wife?" You know what I mean? And if you said, "No, I'm shopping for me,"
right,
it's suddenly a different thing. So that's what I mean by it can be contextual too. It's where you are. Now, if I walked in Victoria's Secret to pick up anything off the shelf, they'd go, "Get this broke bitch out of here." But no, seriously, they would just be like, oh, hey, I, got this in your size, or like whatever. What are you looking for? Are you looking for a push-up lunge? Are you looking for the, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like they would start throwing out terms that, most people, what the fuck? Like guys wouldn't know. So it's one of those things of like, it depends on where you go and where you are.
Right.
So I think that a lot of trans people, a lot of gender non-conforming people, especially white trans people, for like, they might be a bit too insulated sometimes, but a lot of that's because it does suck to just constantly have your identity just hammered like day in and day out. But I actually got off of Reddit and got off of Tumblr, and I don't frequent trans safe spaces online anymore. I don't go to places that say anything bad about me. I block like that kind of shit, that nonsense,
right?
Because you get to where you get addicted to like it's digital self-harm is what it is.
The grief.
It's the same thing as cutting. Like you get to where you want that. But also I don't think sitting around getting hug boxed all the time is
it's not good for you.
It's not good either.
It really isn't good for you.
So the thing of it is there's two different sides to like trans Reddit. There is the you look great no matter what like type like thing, which is not healthy. And then you get the you look awful no matter what like kind of thing and stuff like that. And so I recognized like pretty early on that, oh shit, this is not going to help me at all. And then you get to the cringy side of trans subreddit and you're like, oh my god, cis people are going to see this and they're not going to give us rights. What the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah, like, dude, you are ruining it.
It's like, fucking be cool. But no, like, seriously, like, so there's a lot of that kind of stuff about, like, I don't know. Like, I don't know that my approach is necessarily right, but I try to look at it more objectively and stuff like that and just go, okay. And that's why, like, I basically just stopped taking advice on my appearance and stuff like that when I was looking. I just basically grabbed a bunch of shit, went in the mirror and said, how the fuck do I look more like a chick?
Yeah.
And there we go. That's what did it. Yeah. So that like, seriously, it's just one of those things about like, I don't have all the answers, but it is one of those things where like, I think people should, like trans people should recognize when they have privilege. And there's also like, that's another thing that leads us into like trans medicalists and true scum and people like that who in turn use their privilege and punch down on gender nonconforming and non-binary folks. Yeah. Now here's the thing. I personally, and I've discussed this with someone I have that's I think is very close. Like I'm very close to them. Mm-hmm. They're one of my favorite people at work. I've had a lot of conversations with them that I'm not necessarily true scum or trans medicalist, just so you guys in the audience know a term, is someone who believes that you have to have gender dysphoria and you have to medically transition in order to be transgender. So a lot of trans community disagrees with that and stuff like that, and they feel more along the lines of self-ID, that it's more of a feeling, it's more complicated. I personally have a little bit different opinion on that, and my opinion is not the norm. And the reason I want to say this is because I want people to realize that transgender people are not a homogenous group. That we're not there are literally, the fact that there's a transgender military band should tell you everything you need to know. There are transgender people in the fucking military. Yeah. I am decidedly anti-war. Yeah. I would never be caught dead in a fucking military uniform. So like, we don't have the same opinions. I am of the opinion that you do have to have a type of gender dysphoria to be transgender. I don't think you necessarily have to medically transition, but I do think that you have to have a desire to want to do something, if that makes sense. Because I recognize not everybody can. Now, I also don't think that non-binary and gender non-conforming people should be under the transgender umbrella. I think that they're a separate category that also deserves basic fucking goddamn civil rights.
Yeah, that's right.
So I think that we could do more together as a recognized group that, like, basically for some people, like my friend who's non-binary, they have a different need in life than I do. I don't necessarily want to live in a world where everybody starts by going around and saying their pronouns. That wouldn't benefit me, but it would benefit them.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things about like there's a lot of different like problems that come into there and stuff like that, and I think that we do a slight disservice to each community when we group all those in. Now, some people would vehemently disagree with me, and that's fine. But like I said, like I do think that gender dysphoria is a catch-all term, and I don't necessarily like it. I use it because that's what cis people know, and they recognize, and they go, "Ooh, that's a medical word. It's serious," and they'll actually take it serious. I use gender incongruency because that's what it is. So there are some people that go, "Oh, I don't have dysphoria. I have gender euphoria when I'm in the body of men." It's like, okay, so when you're in the other way, you don't feel as good. That's enough. That's what I'm talking about. Like, and that's just kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, I do believe there is a nuanced conversation to have there. I do know that Edward Gein, who was a serial killer from the 50s, was actually classified with gender dysphoria. That's my idea of gender dysphoria. It's not transgender. Like they're not even close in my idea, in my mind, because to me it's kind of like there's this very unhealthy obsession with one's own body and the body of others. It's dysphoric. It is the lack of self-identity, the lack of the click that everybody needs with themselves. To me, that is dysphoric.
Yeah. Now, the one thing of it is like that's something that you probably won't ever get the transgender community to agree on. Is the term that they do. I use gender incongruence because that's the best way I can think of to describe it. Is it's that's how it felt. Now, some people they like dysphoria is the label they want to use. To me, dysphoria is a label that cis people gave us to try to explain something they didn't understand. So that's whatever. That's fine.
They made it a condition.
Correct. Correct.
Yeah.
Which is like one of the things. However, it's like I don't necessarily think it's because the thing of it is gender incongruency did not make my wife leave me.
Right.
It was my actual taking steps to fix something about myself that did. It's ultimately the action, not necessarily the condition, quote unquote. That's the problem.
Right.
Which I know sounds weird, but.
So, would you mind like elaborating a little bit about how all this went down as you transitioned at your place of work?
Yeah. Anything specific?
Just honestly, like how hard was it?
Anything that'll piss us off.
or anything good. Like if it was a good experience, I would imagine it's not the greatest experience.
So I have a manager, person in higher authority. And I know for a fact that this person was a frequenter of the Donald subreddit back when it was a thing. Is an absolute
that place is a hellhole.
It's gone now. It got new.
I know.
But basically, literally just edgy 4chan meme humor,
worse,
like that kind of person. That kind of person. And they came up to me after when general manager let them know, because they had a specific announcement to everyone, basically in management first, that this is what's going on, this is how it's going to be. And they came up to me and they had a conversation. And they say, "Hey, I know that I know that it's different. I know we think different. I know like all this kind of stuff, but nobody in this place is going to give you shit. If anybody says anything to you, tell me and I'll take care of it. Please work with me. Please bear with me if I'm gonna fuck up. Please forgive me. Please tell me when I fuck up so I can get better." And that's it. I never had a problem with them.
That's a heart right there.
It is, and it's one of those things. Like I had another supervisor that actually I know for a fact. I followed them on Twitter, and they liked somewhat transphobic trash, like tweets and jokes and stuff like that, and actually liked a couple very transphobic things. And after my whole thing, when they were going to move over to being my supervisor, I actually deleted their whole account and recognized that like some of that shit was probably really hurtful. Yeah. But they've stood up for me every time something's happened. I've only had one person that this person uses their age as a shield to protect their transphobia. They'll say subtle things and, just do things and stuff like that. And, other people, well, they're old, how they are and stuff like that.
I'm so tired of that excuse.
And I was given that excuse again. And I said, so what the fuck does that mean? That I have to be okay with transphobia? He said, well, no. I said, okay. I said, if they were racist, would you let that happen too? No. I said, okay. So we've recognized then that age protects certain things and doesn't others. So you're drawing the line at transphobia being okay, but racism not.
Yeah, exactly.
And then something happened, of course. Like then it became because I've given this person seriously 6, 7, 8 chances.
You've been patient.
It's been 10 months since original conversation and stuff like that.
Bless you.
And so it's one of those things where I've been as patient as possible. And this person is purposefully messing up, air quotes.
Yeah, like a dent hasn't even been made.
So here's the thing. All right. I have a coworker in my department who is male. And he's about a foot shorter than me. He's got jet black hair. Okay? He's about 5 feet tall. No joke. He's probably about like 5'4", 5'5". Right. He's about 5'4", let's say. He has jet black, spiky, short hair, and black, thick rimmed glasses. So a customer went up to this person at customer service, gave a description of who they were looking for, which was the guy with the glasses over my apartment. And this person, the transphobic person, singled me out and said, oh, you're talking about him. Mm-hmm. With how I look, you can relate to the audience that is not a description of me.
Yeah.
In any
it's not.
Shape or form.
It really isn't.
And the client came over to me, looked at me, and said, hey, where's the person looking for? I said, what do you mean? And described my coworker. I said, oh, that's also Jake. Yeah, Jake isn't here today. So this client starts laughing and goes, well, I think you need to put, Grandpappy out to pasture over there because they're losing their mind. Send me over to you. I was like, oh, really? And I had him explain the situation. Yeah. I said, really? I sent you over here for a guy? And the client's like, yeah, well, clearly he ain't it. Anyway, so we go through the whole thing. Yeah. So that's why I told the manager. I said, hey, and I explained the whole situation. I was like, so how does that, how would that feel to you? And he's just kind of the cringe, just the absolute cringe.
The deep teeth inhale.
Yeah, so wow, that's really. I said, so do you think that's a little on purpose at this point? He's like, yeah.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, I think that for sure.
Look, dude. What it really lands on is if your street smarts are so dull that you can't tell when someone is deliberately throwing daggers your way, maybe planet Earth isn't for you. Because I'm dead serious. It's so obvious.
This person's in their it's a woman, and she's in her 70s, and so I've taken to calling her bruh. Bruh.
Hell yeah.
So I'm taken to doing that now. Every time she does something that day, I'll be like, you got it, boy? Bruh? Duderino?
You're putting.
I literally.
You're putting the millennial curse on there.
I say, yes, sir, every time and stuff like that. So I've taken to doing it, and come to find out, she found that quite aggravating and complained about it. Someone said, gee, you fucking think you shouldn't then?
Yeah. How about it?
So it's That's real weird, dude. By the way, it's time to make the sis uncomfortable again.
Oh,
do not.
I'm ready.
Do not ever. Let me just tell you, don't ever call a transgender woman dude or bro and then go, I call everybody that, so it's not a big deal. Because if that person's not cool with it, fucking don't.
Yeah.
That's all there goddamn is to it. And the reason I say this is because I can't tell you how bad it feels to get singled out for you to be the only person that someone explains that to. And I've phrased it that way. So I was like, I call everybody man. I said, cool, do you explain that to everybody?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's usually like because I kind of feel like you're singling me out specifically.
Yeah.
Like you knew that you shouldn't use it, but you did, or,
Well, with that, there is again there's a nuanced conversation to be had there, because there are manufactured outrage is a cottage industry in America. Nobody does it like us, with the exception of certain countries that throw rocks at people. Because here we throw bullets. But
it's much quicker.
Yeah, it's much quicker, much more cost effective. Brass
it's legal. It's legal if you have a badge.
Very true, and white skin. But the thing is, I am the guy that calls everybody dude. Mostly just because I have a very relaxed brain. I have a very relaxed vocabulary.
You seem nice enough that if someone told you not to, you would stop though.
Yes, but I would, but at the same time, I'm a very confrontational guy, and I do feel like and I've had these encounters where it seems like a conjured up reason to complain with some people, and because I do believe personality does come into play here, and I think that...
Did you have a nickname in elementary, middle, or high school that you hated?
I didn't hate it. I just thought it was weird.
Do you have anything that was embarrassing?
Embarrassing, like a name? Like,
is there a name that is there a name your family calls you or something?
No,
you just cringe.
No. My family just did things.
Nickname to an ex that you hate.
Oh God, I got one for you.
Okay.
Slick.
Slick.
Because Slick Stinson, because I did not, and I don't know why, and I don't have any hair on my head now, but I did not have hair on my legs until I was 16.
Okay.
And everybody at my first high school called me Slick, along with beating the piss out of me and bullying me and all the fun stuff I got to go through. Slick Stinson was like my joie de vivre. It was my label.
So, here's the thing. It is one of those things where I'm going to tell you on the dude and man thing to check your privilege.
Okay.
And by that I mean, it is unlikely that people are going to call you slick in casual conversation now.
Yes.
But if they did, you would have the right to not prefer that. And it's not manufactured outrage. Now here's the thing. What if, say for instance, I'm trying to think of a good example to get it. Because the thing of it is, like, I can't understand what it's like to be cisgender any more than you can understand what it's like to be transgender.
One makes you crazier than the other, I can promise you that.
But basically, whenever you get called one of those words and singled out, which the singling out is the part I'm getting at. Because I recognize that some people say whatever. And
eye contact.
I usually ask the question when they say, I call everybody that. I say, do you call your grandma that?
I call my mom, dude.
No, I'm asking because most people, if I say, do you call your grandma that? They go, no. I said, so you do recognize that there are people that you don't.
There are gaps there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
the thing of it is, like, well, it's just like I curse a lot. I am a foul-mouthed chick with big tits. Absolutely wifeable.
I was about to say, God bless America.
But it's one of those things that, like, when I'm at work, I don't say those things.
Right.
Because there is a language that we, like, have and stuff. And it's one of those things I just ask people to just be more cautious of what they think. Because I didn't say I necessarily care. what bothers me is the singling out apology afterwards.
Right.
And for most trans people, that's the part they don't like. If the best thing to do is if you mess up on someone's name or pronouns and stuff like that,
ask for an alternative.
No, you just like the best thing to do is if someone like let's say Josh, was saying something and instead of calling me Elizabeth, he's like, and Bill, instead of drawing attention to it, the best thing to do is go, Elizabeth, sorry, and continue what you're saying. So apologize and correct and keep going.
I'm sorry. I thought you meant like spur of the moment stranger, like if they correct you and then you go, okay, what would be the
best way to be an ally is absolutely correct other people. Like, because that's the one biggest thing.
Yeah.
My dad, I'm still messing up in the name pronouns and stuff.
Right.
I told him, I said, well, if you'd actually call me the right fucking thing when I'm not around, it'd be a little easier.
Make me feel a little more included.
And he's like, well, what do you mean? I said, the fact that you're still fucking up and it's been so long is because you only refer to me as that when it's to my face. You're not calling me the right thing in private. I said, so therefore you're not really believing it. You're just saying it.
Yeah.
I said, which is kind of a personal problem.
To bring up one more thing about the terminology, because I think pronouns is a compromised word these days, because it's not just a pronoun. It's terminology. It's like you have to make a habit of it. I mean, you really do, and it's good for you. It's good for yourself in the long run too. But I also believe that, like, me, I never worked with customers. I never, like I said, I grew up hating people. So it's like,
you sure you didn't work with customers? Those go hand in hand.
Oh no! This was hardcore. The thing is, every job I've had has pretty much either been a delivery driver or factory worker, and I don't know if you've ever worked in an assembly line.
Yeah, I have.
But it's nicotine and hatred. Those are that's the diet of your typical factory worker.
I actually, down here in the South, pre-transition days, used to work at a factory for a prominent Japanese car manufacturer.
Yep. Yeah.
You too? You too?
I left the day I got my nose broken because two guys started having a fight, and I tried to tell them to separate, and they slung a container in my face and broke my nose.
Street smarts lesson number 1: never try to break up a fight, ever. Even if you're a cop.
In our last episode, we referred to that exact company as.
We refer to the exact and I still deliver their safety gear.
So I was the only one who was disciplined in the situation.
Oh wow.
So I told the company, my actual words were, you can take this job and shove it up your fucking stupid ass. And I left.
Now that's a hell of a week's notice.
You need to grow the fuck up.
Yeah.
Because they said, well, this is factory work. You just got to get used to it. I said, you don't have to get used to adults fucking fighting with each other.
Yeah.
It's like, this isn't normal. You're a fucking company. I was like, you're like...
It's a very hard, and the thing is, I do believe that level of being tough is necessary in our society because, let's face facts. We have roving bands of savages. White supremacists and gun nuts and everything you could think of. You got to be hard. You got to be mean at times. But the thing is, it's like, I do think that kind of hyper-masculine, Mad Max kind of way of looking at things bleeds over, and I think factory work is for some reason where it just resides. And to talk about like the terminology thing, I really think that when it comes to people that aren't educated like me, I never went to college. I think I'll quote Ron White: "I'm smart, but you can't prove it on paper." The deal is that I think patience and being inclusive. The best thing that you can do now, obviously, when you got yourself some badass Peckerwood who loves to Zeke Heil all the live long day. You know what? I haven't been in a fight in a little while. Why not, bud? If you want it, you got it. Because to me, that's just automatic fighting words, like straight up right there. and I'm not afraid to say that on the fucking mic. I am not a pacifist. I am pro-violence. If you have to fight for your freedom sometimes. But the thing is, when it comes to people who have warped ideas, they have maybe harbored these ideas or conjured them up on their own. Patience is so important, and I do feel like that gets excluded from the conversation a lot. When you talk about progressive values, when people talk about progressive values, it gets excluded. I don't believe the only good fascist is a punched fascist. I believe the only good fascist is a reformed fascist, somebody that can be brought over. And because of how big of a failure, really psychologically, and when it comes to its basic philosophies, fascism is a failure. It doesn't work. It doesn't work as a government. It doesn't work as a social philosophy. It's a failure. You can beat a failed philosophy with patience and inclusiveness and showing them what they believe doesn't work. One of my least favorite things that has come out recently, I hate this phrase with all my heart. It's not my responsibility to make these people better people. Actually, yeah, the fuck it is. Because you share the same planet and the same race and the same species as these people. You don't get to just expect these people. Like Timothy McVeigh was one of the worst white terrorists in the history of this country. He was actually assaulted at a Klan rally 2 months before he blew up the Oklahoma City Bank. Was that a factor? Maybe. But when you reinforce hostility, you're going to get it in return. And let's face facts here. The white nationalist guys, they like guns and they like bombs. And for me, we mentioned this in the last episode, this amazing documentary called Meeting the Enemy. It's about this 5'3" tiny girl. What is her name again?
Dia Khan.
Dia Khan is a Muslim girl actually born in Poland but raised in the UK. She actively sought out the most notorious and recognized as dangerous white supremacists in America. Sat down with them. She didn't even talk politics, really. She asked them about their childhood, their parents, how they grew up. One of them, she was just so sweet to these guys, and they didn't know how to handle it. They were they were practically giddy at how nice she was. One of them brought out a scrapbook. It was just like, that was me when I was a boy, and all this stuff. And when you can hit people where they live like that, transphobes. The biggest deal with transphobes is that they still haven't let go. I mean, this is insane to me, but they still haven't let go of homophobia. So they consider... They use the
exact same argument.
It's the same stuff.
That people did to prevent gay marriage for years. They use the same arguments. They use the slippery slope. We can't have a gay marriage because then you'll have to be fucking penguins. Or whatever people say. I don't know. I'm not stupid.
You landed on that.
I'm not stupid enough to be homophobic. I don't understand how they think.
I can't figure it out, man.
Yeah, so the whole thing of it is, I don't I feel that if someone actively believes that there's something wrong with them. And they might not. They need to stay away from the zoo. That's all I'm saying.
Because they're on a journey.
They're definitely paying some furry artists
they got
on a monthly basis.
That's a wolf.
Yeah,
that's a wolf.
You'll have it's especially like those politicians. You'll have you can't have these gay people because the next thing you'll know, they'll be staying at the Bellagio and then having a man named Enrique, who's a nubile Filipino boy, lick Cool Whip out of their asshole at 2 o'clock in the morning. And you're like, sir, that's a little specific.
It's like,
it's just an example.
No, it's not that I did that or saw that or paid to have that hushed up. I just...
Yeah. That's like, if someone asked me, so it's like, I don't know how you... when you can just tell someone has experience, like when someone jokes they looked at me like, hey, would you let someone pee on you? And I would say, again? I actually made the joke yesterday that I'd let any gal pee on me as long as she gave me a towel and some sweet and sour Skittles, and the order doesn't matter.
Really, I saw that on Twitter. Yeah.
and that, ladies and gentlemen, is why I love what I do.
Well, I just, I don't really care. So it's one of those things of like, but yeah, a lot of like TERFs though, and I say TERFs, and I refuse to use anything else, because
that's what the fuck
fuck TERFs.
Fuck TERFs.
Because they know who they are, and yes, the acronym is not fully applicable to most of them because most of them aren't actual feminists.
Are any of them really?
Some of them are, yeah. Some of them, see, that's the whole thing, though. It's some people that they want. The feminist who's transphobic is the person who wants to poke a hole in the boat of like other boats because they don't like the fact the tide raises them all. And that's someone who doesn't recognize it's someone who needs to be oppressed and can't recognize their privilege. Because here's the thing, society is misogynistic as shit. Sure. No one comes up and asks me anything about my chromosomes before they're misogynistic to me at work.
Yeah, of course.
It just happens. No one's ever said like, hey, what's your pronouns so I can curse you out with the right pronouns. Like that.
Yeah, exactly.
They don't give a shit. Although that is a funny classic tweet is, let me get this bitch's pronouns before I cuss their ass out. That's one of my favorite
That
things.
is funny.
But it's still one of those things where like misogyny is real. There are definitely problems. Being on both sides of customer service, this is my natural voice. I've never done voice training and stuff like that. I used to do voice training the opposite way because I'd have to play male. Oh, yeah. and like Josh could tell you, like I used to do it pretty well. I thought I was pretty good at it. But it's one of those things where like, it's because if I didn't, people would naturally assume when I go to a drive-thru or I'm talking on the phone or anything like that I was female.
Right.
So the quick way to alter that is obviously lower it a little bit and then change the way I speak. I would purposefully make myself speak in a different way so that people would hear. So on the phone, when someone perceives you as male or female, when it comes to customer service or especially agent support for like when I'm doing something for my clients,
right, it's
a different experience, even in a subtle thing. So yes, misogyny is real, like 100%. So the thing of it is, those feminists though, who are TERFs, want to think that's where it stops.
See, that's my problem.
And they refuse to see that you can go a step further and that trans women also experience misogyny.
Well, yeah. And I think I myself don't identify as a feminist because I don't think feminism invented human decency.
It's because you're a pussy.
That's because I'm a pussy. That's right. Because I've got a butt plug in right now. That's right. It's got a fucking foxtail.
Oh, hey, just for the audience at home, you can definitely have a butt plug and be a feminist.
Very true. Very, very, very true. Just as long as it's,
You could also have a pink Hitachi vibrator and a 7-inch purple see-through dildo in the next room and be a feminist.
Just for
survey says, But the deal is, I don't identify as a feminist because I don't, like I said, feminism didn't invent decency. I was raised with a really strong mother. My dad was always working. So every strong concept that a young person needs to learn to grow, I learned from a woman. And which is kind of unfair. I mean, and I do acknowledge my privilege, but I think, a different kind of privilege. I think that it doesn't really get talked about a lot. I had the privilege of being raised with a strong mother. And I think that is a privilege. I think specifically most young guys have when they're raised like a very intense female presence that's not feminine, that's not, like the stereotype of women that's really unhealthy and stupid and in my opinion teaches weakness to women because I think that's garbage. But
I mean, hard pass. I like being soft and
pretty. Oh no! I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. I'm not talking about the interest or the way you feel. I'm talking about.
I get what you're saying.
You have to be dainty. You have to be weak.
My great grandmother used to take me fishing and taught me to garden and used to help her with home projects and stuff like that.
Right.
So I get it. So I personally learned to be a strong woman from my great grandmother and my grandmother and my mother, because my great grandmother divorced a multimillionaire in the 1950s. and moved into a chicken coop because that's what she could afford.
That, ladies and gentlemen, is hardcore.
She used to yell back when she was getting beat.
That's right.
She would tell him, "Oh yeah, you're a real fucking man, aren't you?
Yeah.
You're a real man. Bet you feel great.
Yeah.
Go ahead, show me again. Go ahead."
Yeah.
So I learned the lessons from her. I learned that femininity and weakness are not synonymous
At all. And the thing
any
is,
way, shape, or form.
I didn't have and the thing is, that was why I considered it a privilege for somebody like just some dunderheaded thug like me. It's just like, I literally, but here's the problem. It's unfair because I grew up expecting all women to be Ellen Ripley from Alien.
Oh God,
So,
if they were.
oh dear God.
Oh, I'm just imagining a little lesbian bottom like myself in a world with all tops.
And as long as she uses the flamethrower, that's all I want,
I mean, I could probably get into that.
I'm down for that. Yes, burn me. I don't
Definitely
care.
better than
Yes.
inversion table. I'm not that
Dear
into
God,
those.
no. But the thing
There's
is,
just something about coming on your own face that's just...
yeah, it's absurd yet satisfying.
No,
But-
I didn't like it that much. It wasn't for me.
But no, the thing is, like, it really was a privilege for me because, like, but it was unfair because I got to high school and then I am now being faced with already with a punk rock attitude and expecting everybody to be gnarly and hard. And then I meet girls who have already been fed the bullshit and have swallowed it whole because they don't know anything else. It's what they're raised with.
I thought most guys like girls that swallow.
That's true. But these girls didn't. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, okay.
But no.
They swallowed the wrong thing.
Is that right? Yeah, they did. But see, that's the thing. And so I went through high school with a very warped idea of like, why are, like, this is going to sound nuts, but like, why are girls such pussies? And so for me, I grew up with the idea of like, when I hit puberty and started getting interested in girls, I wanted a girl that was tough and that listened to Black Flag and wore steel toes and was, really...
It kind of sounds like you wanted a transgender girlfriend.
Either that or just a girl that was just fed up with my shit.
Yeah.
And which has turned out to be every girl I've ever dated. Or almost married. God bless you for saying no. But no, it really is the weird little details that, because like I said, human beings are so complicated. And mostly because of men. And really, we can take something that is so simple and turn it into calculus somehow. just by like, oh, I don't. Well, so what you're saying is, we don't just let it happen. We don't just go, okay, this person knows more than I do. Just let that do its thing. Let that happen.
It's that way with attraction to trans women. The joke about the trans girlfriend, like, the thing of it is, men, especially, like, I haven't ran into a lot of women who have a huge hang up on it and stuff like that necessarily. They're just kind of like it's a thing. A lot of men don't seem to realize that you don't have to be bisexual to be with a transgender woman, because you don't have to be bisexual to be with a woman, because these dudes are basically looking like, ew, dude, fucking girls is gay as fuck. Like, it's basically what they're saying. Like, kissing girls is kind of gay, dude. Like, it's just kind of weird. It's kind of a weird thing to think. And a lot of them do this whole like thing in their head where they're like, oh, this and that. And I made the joke to one of my friends, where I was like, I said, I don't really see what it matters. Most of these dudes just want to put it in my ass anyway, and I'm letting them. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. Like, that's the whole thing. It's like, if that's the end goal anyway, then, I mean, you're there.
Yeah.
So...
It's like, man, come on, spin the wheel, Raggedy Man. Come on.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, but like, seriously, like joking aside and stuff like that, it's one of those things where it's like, how many of your girlfriends, both of you, we'll actually do a combined number.
Oh, please.
How many of your combined girlfriends have you seen a panel of their chromosomes?
None.
Okay. All right. So, ooh, that's a big strike. That's right. How many of them have you actually seen their original birth certificate before you went out with them? How many girls have you asked to present a birth certificate before you would date them?
Well, I did date Barack Obama for a summer.
He was just waving that shit around and I'm like, Donald Trump's an idiot.
He was like, dude, it's right here, man. No,
None?
no.
None?
None.
So, here's the thing. Either one of you may have dated a stealth trans woman and not known it.
There you go.
Yeah.
So, little thought experiment. Since I put Josh on the spot with the whole like trans question, stuff like that. If I was walking down the street, what would be the first thing you'd notice about me?
Your eyes.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure.
No, that literally is a hang-up of mine.
Okay, let me put it this way.
Yeah.
If I was walking sideways.
Oh, okay. Well, you're rigging it. Now you're making it to where it's just kind of like, oh, hello, ass.
I guess that's his answer.
Okay,
Yeah.
I see now. I was wondering which way you were going to go.
Well, I'm an ass man. I can't help myself.
For the audience, I
rude.
have a very thick ass and very big boobs, so it could have gone either way. But
My eyes are imbalanced.
So basically, typically, you select what you find pleasurable about someone by their secondary sex characteristics.
Yeah, pretty much.
We can drop the bullshit. You guys can go, oh no, she has a great personality. No, come on. We all know the truth. Fat girls suck a mean dick because they have to. But like, no, like all joking aside.
I'm sad now. Don't say it like that.
Well, at least you didn't just, at least you're not some insult who denied me. Volcelic.
Oh yeah, I got all wigged out. Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, it's one of those things where it's like, nobody looks at someone and says, I bet, like, I'm sorry, but like, unless you're looking at someone in the context of porn, no one's been walking down the street and you've gone, I bet her labia looks great.
Yeah. Yeah. Which actually I don't
like,
do.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I bet she has just a swinging vulva.
Yeah. Like that cervix is what that cervix do.
Right. Yeah. It's like, no one thinks that kind of shit. Like, only fucking, like, maybe like a pickup artist would look and go, she looks fertile. Like,
eggs for days, my dude.
Like, seriously, like, I mean, no one thinks like that. So the things that like men are attracted to,
right?
I mean, transgender women have them in spades.
Absolutely.
And so it's one of those things where it's like, it's always funny to me that dudes will have such a fucking hang up about like their attraction, and that's weird. It's weird to me. It's always been weird.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like, I mean, it literally could either be kind of like this sort of
so bullshit.
It is bullshit
because when no one, like when the mic's not on, when it's just one person and stuff like that, no one's around. Oh yeah, weird stuff happens.
Oh yeah,
yeah, a lot of weird questions.
Absolutely.
A lot of would you ever questions.
Which again, the thing is, it's not that kind of podcast. We're not going to restrict. We're not going to censor.
Well, most,
So
like I date women. Wish I dated anyway right now. Anyway, but like, okay, so the thing of it is though, I don't rule anything out. I'm like, I think I made the joke earlier about I'm trisexual. I'm not ruling anything out, but basically most guys have 3 rules for sleeping with a girl. And it's not safe sex and stuff. That doesn't enter in. The rules are simply, are you a chick? Have you always been a chick? Or can you keep a secret? And the thing of it is, it shouldn't be stigmatized that way. And that's another reason that I'm for people knowing the proper terminology, that transgender is an adjective. It's not a noun. I'm not a transgender. Yeah. Which I love. Like, it cracks me the fuck out when people say
like
that kind of shit.
Transgender.
Yeah, it's like they're a transgender, and you're like, oh god, that's so cringy. I'm a woman, and I'm not like, if someone's not interested, they're not interested. It's whatever. But like, the whole like acting like guys aren't. is the part that gets me. Sports Illustrated just had their first like trans model, I think like cover model and stuff like that they just did. She's absolutely fucking gorgeous.
Mm-hmm.
She definitely pops. I really hope he never hears this, but my sister actually gave my dad a poster of her, and it's hanging up on his wall right now. And he hasn't figured it out. It's been about 3 weeks now. We really are enjoying that. We really think that's great.
Well, I have two opinions.
And so on Twitter, though, the picture of her was basically filled with fuckboys going, I'm definitely not turned on by her.
Because they know.
Yeah. And it's
That's all. That's because they know.
Like, okay, dude.
Well, I have two opinions.
Okay.
One is that I do think it is, like, irresponsible for somebody to put a young guy in that position to where they could end up having an existential crisis. Nobody should be confronted with trans identity at gunpoint, or excuse me, at pussy point. Nobody should have sex with somebody and go, haha, you fucked a trans girl. Like it's happened. It's not okay. And
so the thing of it is that actually happens a lot more with women who actually have had bottom surgery.
Yes. And that's kind of the deal. It's like, but because that the very notion is enough to send a young person spiraling because they haven't developed yet. They haven't developed their own real. And I'm talking about people as old as in their 20s.
Well, I like the whole thing of it is I would never get to the point of that without having a discussion with someone.
Absolutely. Exactly.
Mostly because here's the thing. I am too goddamn old to be somebody's fucking secret.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. That's just all it comes down to.
Yeah, fuck a secret.
I'm not fucking ducking down in the car when I come to your neighborhood. I'm not going to have you be fucking embarrassed in front of your parents and shit like that. I just want you to be like, this is Elizabeth.
Right.
My girlfriend. Whatever.
Precisely.
You don't need an explanation. You don't need other stuff. And in fact, the fact that I'm trans, if I was dating someone, it's no one else's fucking business.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's the whole thing. Like, people make it a thing. It's just like if you were dating a girl who was infertile because she had like a hysterectomy. Yeah. You don't announce that. You don't you wouldn't tell your buddies like.
You're gonna make her a t-shirt.
I get there are guys out there who might go like, yeah, I can fuck this girl I want. You can't get pregnant. I'm sure there's some dudes out there like that, but
yeah, they're called inhuman.
Right.
They're called lizard men.
But you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not gonna be something like someone's gonna be like, hey, yeah, I'm fucking this girl, and she has a congenital heart defect. Like, what?
Hot,
fuck, you know what I'm saying? Like, it just things that have no bearing on anything in the world.
But my second opinion, as I pour a second glass of whiskey,
This is your third.
It's my fourth.
Gotcha. I'm just saying, I was trying to keep count.
It's been okay. Yeah, but my second opinion, as I awkwardly reach for the ice, is that men are whores.
Yeah.
And which is to this day, ever since I was a young kid, and I'll tell you this perspective. I don't give a fuck about sounding progressive. I really don't. I don't care who I offend, because being offended is good for you. Feeling ostracized and completely excluded from society is bad. But if I offend you, make you go, oh, go fuck yourself, for real. You asked for this, but the deal is, men are whores. We are pathetic, meandering whores. And I'm talking about men as in men who have psychologically and sexually developed themselves past the point of their sexuality being gotten off of Pornhub.
Just so you know, Pornhub isn't woke either.
No.
I don't use Pornhub because they allow titles with fucking slurs.
Well, not to mention they broadcast things like PunishTube.
Yeah.
Which are awful.
Yeah, so that's the thing too, but you're right about that identity. Now, here's the other thing though too. I'm not just gonna let you get away with just saying men are whores. Because there's a lot of women like to fuck too. And
no, that's not what I meant.
Well, what I'm saying is...
I meant it as a slur to men.
Well, what I'm saying it as, though, is that both the people who raped me were women in my life.
Mm.
So
Oh yeah, it happens.
You know,
absolutely.
The thing of it is, people in general can be shitty.
But
so that's what I'm saying. Is like I get that a lot of men are that way too, but women are better at hiding.
Very, very much better. But the reason I say men are whores is like, oh yeah, I'm not letting it go. I'm not letting it go. This train is going into the goddamn station. It's just where it's going.
Well, I like a man who knows where he wants to put it.
Yes, yes, and I am that man. I am laser targeted.
Josh, you have to say more so I can joke about fucking you too.
That's right. But hey, man, I mean, we all know you're Jewish, but you're not excluded here. You're welcome to be sexually ostracized. But no, the thing is, yeah, you got a little uncomfortable there for a second.
No, I was just going to say I'm circumcised if that helps. You're not going to offend me.
But no, the thing is, it's like, the reason I say men are whores is like any guy, any grown-ass man that has had a lot of sexual experience and that has seen the gambit of human sexuality. I don't know if I would have sex with somebody that's transgender because I am still a white guy in society that is still like kind of fish hooked a little bit by certain things, and that's okay. I mean, I'm only 30 years old. I'm growing. I'm still a baby, you know. I mean, I'm sorry, but 30 does not mean that you're just, I'm so wise and I am enlightened. I'm not 20 anymore. Like, dude, you're 30. Shut up.
But see, I'm 31, so I am.
Yeah, it's like,
the extra year is what did it.
That's right. Yeah, you're a certifiable genius now. But teach me, O guru.
If these were brains.
Which in certain economic spheres they are. But But,
so why not? Let me ask you that. Let's get uncomfortable. Why could you not see yourself with a transgender woman?
I don't know. I think it's just kind of like this really weird subconscious thing that it's got nothing to do with my faith. Really, it doesn't. Because, like I said, it's like the conversation we were having earlier. It's like God doesn't.
What does the Bible say about transgender people?
Nothing. Not a damn thing.
Isn't that funny?
And but the thing is, it's just kind of like we were talking about earlier. Like God doesn't make mistakes, and it's kind of like, well, I mean, you could actually say that, while at the same time saying that God doesn't make mistakes. So it's kind of like, but sometimes evolution can have a glitch or two.
Well, so I'm a Taoist, and so my simple philosophy of it was I tried to use Taoism as a way to cope and not transition. Believe me, listeners at home, I may be proud of who I am now, but I wasn't for a long time. I got kicked out of my house when I was 18 because I had a semi-popular MySpace where I used to video pictures of myself, and I had a persona, and I was female on there. I wore clothes and everything like that and filmed it, and it was kind of an experimentation. It wasn't the first in my life, and my stepmother caught me. She came in as I was in full makeup.
And just wigged out.
And no, she didn't say anything. And I went to go stay with a relative overnight because I was planning on it anyway, and when I came back, all my stuff was outside. So it was it was over at that point. Come to find out, she never told anyone, which was very odd to me. But here's the thing. There were 3 guys in my class who watched those videos. And I heard the things that they said that they would do to that girl, who I knew was me. So,
okay, that laugh wasn't intentional.
It seems that cis men have a Garden of Eden syndrome, is what I'll say, which is until they eat of the tree of knowledge, they want to fuck it. Right. So, it seems as though there's nothing anatomical or biological that would stop you from wanting to fuck a trans woman, but there is societal. That would be a problem.
Precisely.
And it's a hang-up that, in all honesty, it's not up to trans women to help you get over that. You got to do it because no one can do that for you.
Yeah, like even if they tried, like they literally can't.
I mean, if I got up and just like shook my ass in your face or something like that, it's not possible. It may change your mind. I don't fucking know. I don't want it to though.
I would like to think I'm a little deeper than that. I hope I am.
Could be if you fuck trans women.
Hey,
that's a joke. Anyway, so no, but my whole thing with that though is that it's societal,
right?
Because I know exactly the kind of things like people would say, and it would really crack me up because I used to fuck with people because the whole thing of it is it wasn't like a thing that just happened with me. I got in trouble when I was really little because I had a friend who was a girl. I used to go stay with her, and when I say little, I mean kindergarten or first grade. I can't quite remember.
You were a baby.
Right, really little, and she and I used to swap clothes with each other, and we would watch each other pee and stuff, and we would poke around because we both were very curious and wanted what the other person had.
And kids do that.
Yeah, well, we wanted what the other one had too, and it became like a kind of a focus. So we did that literally every time. Like we would just get together, basically shut our door, swap clothes, and then lay there with our fingers on each other's privates. It was literally like that. When I say there's nothing sexual about it, there wasn't. We didn't think of it that way at all.
It's human curiosity.
And then it got discovered, and we got in big trouble for it. And that was the realization that what I was doing was wrong. So then, it was stuff and it's so funny because all this stuff would happen. Like I would get in trouble for wearing my mom's clothes or, stuff like that and all this. But yet there was no signs. Okay, cool. Sure, bro. Anyway, so it was one of those things where it's like, once I realized that there was something wrong with that, I realized that there was something wrong with me. And then having to go to Christian school my whole life and all that kind of stuff didn't exactly make that easier. And it's one of those things where seriously, the vast majority of my friendships and relationships were with girls. I didn't do the guy stuff. I didn't get into it. It wasn't for me. And they would all it was always the same thing. Most girls would all say the same thing. I just feel like I can just open up to you. I can just talk to you more and stuff like that. At one point in high school, I think it was 11th grade. I'm not joking. And about this, I had to schedule my phone calls with girls because I had so many girls who wanted to talk to me every night on the phone. And no, I wasn't dating these girls and stuff like that necessarily. It was just who just wanted to have talks. So I would allot an hour to 2 hours each, and I would be on the phone until 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning every single night.
Yeah,
talking to girls as they fell asleep or did their homework or whatever. That was the thing. My entire friend group, I one guy and 9 girls. That's the only people that I could associate with and stuff like that. And there was always that deep seated just this something's wrong. I don't like how people I don't like how people see me. You know what I mean? We'd be going through the mall and they'd want to go into the lingerie store or something like that, and they'd be like, well, how are you okay coming in here? And I'd do the whole oh, well, I guess so. And then secretly I was just God, I wish I could wear this kind of stuff. So I would do something I refer to as dolling. I would doll them.
Yeah.
Basically, I would put them in things I wish I could wear.
Yeah.
Hey, just any girls listening out there, if you have a guy who, if you have a boyfriend who gets you to dress up in a lot of different outfits and really has you try on a lot of different stuff, and especially takes pictures and stuff like that, plays female characters on video games and changes their outfits a lot, have a talk with them. May not be your boyfriend.
Well, I'm not most of that, 95% of that, but
there's some specific.
Yeah, very specific. Yeah, I was about to say I have a lingerie obsession, but it's not for me. Mostly because I think my body looks like a half sucked milk dud. But the thing is, I have a G-string obsession. It's a girl wearing a G-string in front of me, I would literally follow her off a cliff. It's sad. That's why I don't go to strip clubs, because it's literally just kind of I will literally put my paycheck in that girl's G-string.
I don't go to strip clubs for a specific reason, in that I don't like it when people ask me out when I'm at work. And I feel that, like, I always feel that when someone's on the clock, there's a weird power dynamic.
Could you imagine?
So I feel weird about strippers.
Brutal. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're great people.
They're awesome.
I've sat in a Waffle House until 4 a.m. like talking to strippers.
Strippers are wonderful people.
Great time. But like at work, I would just feel weird. I would just be like, oh, this is a struggle. But basically, so I would doll them. I would basically just model the things and go like, okay.
You would dress vicariously.
This is what I wish I could wear.
Yeah.
And then. Like, so it's always stuff like that. When I graduated high school, it was funny. There was actually these two girls, and both of them thought I was really into them. They were both in my graduating class. They both got a job at a clothing retailer that sells like just women's clothes. And so I used to come there to see them, quote unquote, all the time. And they would fight and argue over which person I was there to see. Oh. I was actually dating another girl who worked there. So while those two were arguing out front, I would just go wait in the back, and me and my girlfriend would make out. And she would slip me cute clothes for me to wear because she was totally cool with it.
Oh, fuck yeah.
So I ended up opening a credit card there for the lulz.
For the lulz.
And they didn't know that I put like $700 or $800.
Oh!
Because I was buying clothes for me.
Because you went hard.
And her, and my girlfriend. I was buying stuff for both of us. So it was stuff like that. Like it was like I had a bit of an issue with that. And so then it became one of those things of like, I tried after that. I was like, after we broke up, like me and her, I was just like, I tried the like, I got to get rid of these feelings. I can't do anything about this. I didn't know, like, people act like being transgender, like it spreads or something, or like the knowledge, like if you know other trans people, you're gonna do it. I hate to tell people this. We're like 0.01, maybe 0.02% of the fucking population. Ain't a lot of us. Yeah. You're not going to, like, run into us at the mall, probably.
Yeah. Like, becoming a transgendered person is, like, by meeting someone, it's like just becoming a Jew by meeting another Jew.
Yeah. It's like, it just happens. It just happens. All of a sudden, you're sitting there going, like, God damn it, I can't eat cheese on my hamburger. This is fucked up. But, like, no, you seriously, like, it's just, like, it didn't happen that way. I didn't know people who were transgender. I didn't meet people who were like me. When I would just... like kind of discuss it and broach the subject with people. Have you ever this? Have you ever that? Oh, very good question. And like I can prove you're both cis, hopefully. If not, we'll have a conversation off there. So for both of you, if you woke up one day and you were your idealized version of a female, you were a woman.
I was in that body.
You were in that body. Right. You were a woman. And through clues and stuff like that, you realized that everyone saw you as that, and that was your life, and everything was like totally normal. So people knew you as that person and stuff like that. There was no struggle. There was no fight. Okay? Right. You were a woman. And you had a box with a red button on it. And if you press that button, everything goes back to normal, and you get to be a guy again. Like you don't live the rest of your life as a woman. What do you do?
Well, I mean, I'd hit the button mostly because I definitely am a guy, but at the same time, I'm a naturally curious boy. I like to wander out into the world and get into all kinds of misadventure. I'd give it a week. Gotcha. And that's kind of the deal. It's like
you'd let the homies get up in the guts. I understand.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, it's not even that. It's just kind of like, well, also I'm a tyrant, so I would just be. I mean, let's face facts here. Sensually, women have power over men. Like when it comes to like men are morons when it comes to women. I mean, they really are, and especially when they actually do what they're supposed to do and listen to women.
If you wouldn't have clarified that end, I was like really confused as to what you're saying. If they would just listen.
How about you, Joshua?
I'd probably experiment.
Okay.
Because I'm a curious person, yeah. But I like my life the way it is. So
you two aren't quite as cis as you think. Every other guy I've ever asked.
I'm not proud of my cisness.
They would immediately hit the button and stuff like that. No, I'm just saying it's funny. For me, what I would do is lock the button inside of like a box and sink it in the fucking ocean so that it could never be touched. I would absolutely have no qualms about destroying it or doing whatever I had to do to make sure that button was never fucking pushed again.
Yeah.
with no question.
Yeah.
In my mind.
Absolutely.
So that's the like the difference, like with us or whatever.
That's the spectrum.
Right. So it's like most dudes are like they'll make the joke, sis may make the joke, an experiment or whatever and stuff like that.
Well, it's not a joke.
Yeah.
I'm saying like they're just kind of like they'll joke about it, like whatever. Yeah, we're gonna experiment, whatever. Like it's not a big deal. But you would have the intention more than likely of hitting the button to go back at some point.
Well, maybe at some point, yeah. Absolutely, but
we'll talk anyway.
But I mean, come on. I mean, it's like really what it comes down to.
What if I told you I had a button? I'll tell you about it later.
But hey,
you just got to take 3 of them a day. But
something tells me I wouldn't be happy with the results. I would just be like, oh god.
Don't let that stop you.
Anyway. I hate myself.
Don't let that stop you. Anyway, so it's one of those things that like. I would talk, and it became apparent that it was not how most people felt. So then I decided to be, I tried to be ultra hyper, like masculine and real Christian and all that kind of stuff, and do all that.
Conform.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that resulted with me collapsing on my bathroom floor, constantly crying my eyes out, and trying to commit suicide several times.
See,
it didn't.
You can't
fucking do it.
I mean, that's just the thing. Identity is it, which I hate the term identity politics. I really do. I hate that term. And I don't. It's just because for me, it's not politics. There's nothing political about it. It really is sociological, and it literally.
Politics is violence. Ultimately,
politics is force.
So, a lot of times there is a force of identity.
I guess you looking at it that way. I guess but I think the way that word has been compromised, the way that term has been compromised.
No, I understand what you're getting at. Like people, like
But because I do think both sides are guilty of it. I do think that a lot of the times identity politics can be misrepresented on both sides. I mean, because on the one end you have Zeke Heil, and then on the other end you have like just.
Well, I'm going to say that I don't think Personally, I don't think any left extreme thing has done anything remotely as bad as the fash.
Oh dear God, no!
I'm always quick to call out people and say, there are people who suck on that side on the left.
But the only ones that are really fucking it up for is the other people on the left.
Right.
They're making it look like a clown show.
Right.
And that's my problem. As a very left-leaning dude, it bothers me because I'm like, okay, first of all, dude, stop doing call-out culture with perfect strangers because all you're doing is reinforcing their already preconceived notions. You don't get to do that. That's a dick thing to do.
The thing of it is, I don't like the self-satisfaction a lot of people have by
the aha moments.
I'm like, okay, cool. Because they never target people they should.
Ever.
Because the thing of it is, if someone's like Shane Dawson is a racist who does blackface, I believe you. You don't have to devote a whole video to that on YouTube. I look and I see.
Why is your video 40 minutes long?
I look and I see a white dude doing blackface, and I go, yeah, he's probably fucking racist. And then people are like, oh, he's not now. I was like, okay,
good for him.
Cool.
And us.
Neat.
What the fuck?
I don't give a shit. But when because the thing of it is a YouTuber at most is a minor celebrity, a minor internet celebrity.
Yeah.
Now, J.K. Rowling, who's a billionaire and has several million people following her.
And as I say, a gigantic platform.
That's different.
That's very different.
That's a bitch who needs to get canceled.
Wait, I have no idea what's going on. What?
Oh, J.K. Rowling, the author of Harry Potter. Oh, she just makes it every weekend. For a while here lately, she just gets fucking wine drunk and then just tweets terrible shit about transgender people.
Oh.
Cool.
Oh, yeah. Absolute transphobic
And
trash.
everybody was so snowed on the idea of her being so progressive and so inclusive and so...
The trans community wasn't. The thing of it is, it's just now gotten to the point where, the libs are seeing it and they're getting mad. Trans people, we've talked about this for a long time because she was...
J.K. Rowling?
Oh, God, she was liking and sharing all this turfy nonsense for years. And then her publicists and several people she didn't know the person was a turf. She didn't know the person had this opinion and stuff like that. And it was just last year, basically in December, she just came full on mask off.
Yeah.
And then here lately, it's just gotten worse.
So bad.
So yeah, no, she's been trash for a while. But like that's the whole thing with her is like someone like that is someone who like the thing of it is you're not going to do anything to her because she's a billionaire. And she also insulates herself and tries to use the whole like, well, she's transphobic because she's a victim of domestic violence. Which I hate that for her. I do.
Sure, I do too, but what?
Absolutely. Absolutely. As a victim of violence myself, like, I don't fucking condone that.
I'm the victim of several kinds of violence,
But that's not an excuse to be...
No.
I don't understand. How is that linked?
How is that connected? Yeah.
It's not. But you see, that's what TERFs... You see, that's what TERFs do, though.
I thought you were about to lead us down this fucking rabbit hole.
So that's the thing.
Like, but it's not.
It isn't. That's the whole point. She's trying to use her history of domestic violence,
advocate it
as here's a reason transgender women shouldn't be allowed to use battered women's shelters. Right. Here's a reason that
So in other words, she doesn't believe that men.
Bathroom.
She doesn't believe that men are victims of domestic violence. And is what she's also saying.
She's believing that. Okay, so she doesn't think that men are victims ever, but she also thinks that trans women are men.
Yeah, because you can't have one without the other.
Right.
You literally cannot believe one without the other.
One of her quotes that she said, I think it was last year. The one was she's like, "Dress however you want, sleep with whomever will have you." But you're not, like, that's the exact terminology she used. But you're not a woman, basically. What was her tweet? So the sleep with whomever will have you was a very like clear like, oh, okay. Or she said sleep with whatever legal adult will have you. It was like how she
God.
Because she also just so happens to like people who have referred to all transgender women as pedophiles.
Yeah, that's kind of how I took it. Yeah.
So, which is
Jesus. And the thing is, I'm not obviously defending her in any way, but that's rich people shit.
Yeah,
that's what happens when you get too much money, too much recognition.
And the other thing is, they don't think about where their thinking leads, like bathroom bills and all sorts of kind of stuff. What bathroom do you guys think I should be in?
Women's restroom.
If I walked into the men's bathroom, how would you feel?
I would be like, ma'am, because I'm that dude that just goes like, ma'am. Like whenever I'm in an awkward situation involving a woman, I'm like, ma'am.
So the last time, so I hate public fucking bathrooms. Anyway, hate them. But the last time I used a men's restroom was a long time ago. Mm-hmm. And it was because I was washing my hands and this guy walked in. He looked at me. He backed out and looked at the side. And he came in and said, "You in the wrong one, honey." And I said, "Oh my God, I am. I'm so sorry. I'll get out." And he's like, "Oh, finish washing your hands. It's okay." It's like, "I'll wait." And I'm like, "Oh, I'm hurrying." And I got out and I was like, "Okay, I can't do it anymore." Like, because
that was almost your license to like.
Well, I was scared at that point. So what I did at first was I had other female coworkers and friends, and at first I just had them go to the women's restroom, check it, make sure no one was in there, and then I would go and use it. Mm-hmm. Like I didn't want to be in there at first and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like it was kind of one of those things of like a fear thing, and then one of them just one day said like, "You don't need me." And I was like, okay. So, and from then on, never have. Now, I still don't like public bathrooms, but there's no question when I go like to a place that I go to the women's bathroom. If I didn't, it would be that would potentially lead to some violence for me. That would be dangerous for me. Yeah. It would be uncomfortable for other people at most. But it's one of those situations where like, okay. And then with these bathroom bills, a lot of people can't tell who's trans and who's not as well as they think. Mm-hmm. And I have a wonderful personal experience and anecdote for this that just happened several weeks ago. So I was at a major supermarket. It was Publix. I was at Publix. Using the Publix restroom.
We're not going to edit that out because we're not going to remember to.
Just Publix. So I was there at this grocery store chain, and I had to go to the bathroom, and I was like, crap, I'm not going to be able to buy all my wonderful food if I don't go to the bathroom. Okay, so I go to the bathroom, right? Least controversial thing I do throughout the day. And as I'm washing my hands, another woman leaves the restroom who had just finished washing her hands. And I remember thinking, she's cute. She might be sapphic. For those at home, like slang, basically, she might be a lesbian. Sappho was the original like poet where like a lot of lesbian stuff comes from. It's just like it's almost like an in joke. Like it's like, oh, she looks a little sapphic. Just kind of like this.
Literally never heard that term.
I just realized that after I said that, and I was like, oh shit, never mind. I'm gonna get a lot of looks anyway.
Learning is fun.
So I basically was like, oh, she looks. I thought she was cute looking. She had like shorter hair and stuff like that, and just really cute. She anyway. Since you seem into it, she had like a tank top, and she's like really nice arms and stuff like that, really toned. And I thought she was cute. Anyway, so she's leaving, and I washed my hands, and there was another woman who was coming up to wash her hands like almost simultaneously. Karen, a total Karen, 100%. And like older than me or whatever. And
I'm so glad you said Karen.
And she goes. And I hadn't really seen her acknowledge her. We're not having a conversation. I'm just washing my hands and go. And she goes, I thought they had let a man in here. And I thought she was talking about me at first. Because when I looked at her, I was like, huh?
Did you have to like uncock the shotgun real quick? You were like, motherfucker.
Because I was like, huh? And I just looked at her. She goes, that woman, I thought she was a transgender woman. And I was like, oh really? She's like, well, you can't be too careful nowadays. Us women got to stick together. I said, yeah, you never know. And I'm just leaving, and then I'm just dying laughing.
Oh my God.
The whole time. First of all, just like I'm laughing because, oh my God, you dumb Karen. Mind your own fucking business. Like, secondly, you can't tell as well as you do. And thirdly, that chick was hot. Shut your fucking mouth.
Well, okay.
Like, oh my God.
Let me get in. Okay, I am notorious amongst my circles of friends. Because I actually...
That is not the first time I've had cis people talk to me about transgender people either. But continue.
Thank you. But the thing is, it's like, I love girls with short hair. Because, like I said, I grew up with this very idea of, like, women should be hard. Women should be tough, and I'm not against the feminine characteristics, the Western characteristics of women. I'm not against, I've dated plenty of girls that are that, but I've also dated 2 or 3 girls that are more on the grittier side, not butch, very pretty, very attractive, full figured, beautiful, short hair, and they just. I swear to God, they could have led me around on a fucking leash. And not in a fucking submissive way. Like, I'm a Doberman for them. I'm just kind of like, yeah, you fucking look at her. And it was like, oh, no, your goddamn throat out, bro. and that's kind of the deal. It's like, that is just beauty personified, because I think androgyny is synonymous with beauty in my eyes. I think androgyny is beautiful. Beautiful. And, I think the concept of thinking you can spot...
That's not that deep. I just like a girl who could punch me in the face and it would hurt.
Yes, exactly. It's like, that's my deal. It's just kind of like, girls do not have to be, and I know this is typically more common in the West, but girls don't have to be cowards. They don't have to be wussies. Yeah. Women can be what they were instinctually born to be. Tough mammals that like to fuck. What's wrong with that? What's wrong with that? That's normal. I'm not saying you have to walk around picking a fight with everybody and get pregnant every 15 minutes, but I'm just saying you don't have to be...
Just do that with me.
Just do that with me! No, but I'm just saying, like, you don't have to be... I'm kidding.
Have you tried to buy some DMT from him?
Do what?
No, I'm just saying...
Oh, no, yeah, totally, man. Totally.
That works, I've heard.
Oh, God. And it never pays off. Those genes stay on. But no,
I do actually want to interrupt you because we do actually need to end this.
We do.
I would like if you had anything you desperately wanted to be said.
Yes.
Yeah,
before
absolutely.
this is over.
So one important thing that my best friend told me I need to bring up. is an opinion where I differ from my ex-wife and a lot of other people. So, I didn't die. And by that I mean, like, I'm still the person I used to be. I'm just the actual person. I'm the person who couldn't ever be there. I'm not the person anymore who has to keep the lights off in the bathroom because I don't want to see my reflection. I'm not the person who smiles while they're with their spouse and then thinks the entire time how they feel so empty and they feel like they're drowning underwater. I'm still me.
Right.
Now, how my ex-wife rectified it, when I asked her, when I had a serious conversation with her, she's like, well, I felt like you died. I felt like Bill died, and you're his twin sister who's just in my life right now. And that's how a lot of people feel. They feel as though the trans person died. Whereas when I told that to my best friend, she said that was horseshit. That I've always been this person. I just get to actually be this person now. And that's how I feel about it. So that's one thing to think about. Another thing is, along with the dead thing, don't ever fucking ask a transgender person what their old name was. Let me just throw that out there. Just a quick PSA. Don't fucking ask.
That
it doesn't
happens?
matter. Constantly.
Jesus.
Constantly. And it doesn't fucking matter. Because here's the thing. I won't actually say what my old name was. I won't say it. I don't say it, and I don't think it anymore. I forget.
It's not you.
I forget what it was sometimes. Which has actually been really funny.
And healthy.
Well, yeah. But that's the thing is, it's something where you just don't say it. So don't do that. But the thing is that the transgender person who may be in your life or whatever, they didn't die. They're not dead.
They're reborn.
Not even that. They're just who they always were meant to be.
They're just there now.
They're just there.
Yeah.
And I guess why I got hurt with my divorce, and I just am going to say this, is because, you talk about a lot of stuff when you're married, and one of the things we talked about is, what if I'm in an accident and you have to take care of me, and this, and that kind of stuff, and of course we were going to stay together. So basically I learned that if I had been in an accident and became a quadriplegic, she would have taken care of me, but because I became myself and actually had a chance at happiness, then that wasn't good. So
Jesus.
like it is one of those things where like you do have to kind of I don't know. And the thing of it is, she's not transphobic. She's a very staunch ally and stuff like that. But it is one of those things where I think a lot of people have internalized transphobia they don't know, including transgender people.
Everybody's an ally until they're confronted.
Yeah,
personally.
Or they're dudes like you who like looking at us but won't fuck us. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just joking. Hey, since I started it with Josh and we got to wrap up, what's one question you've always wanted to ask someone who's transgender?
Well,
same thing with him. Just one you.
I mean, hey, I think obviously my question is going to be a little more on the kind of street level urgency, because I don't really I don't contemplate like the sexual curiosities of other people and other people's identities and things like that, because that's A, none of my business, and also B, that's the fun of finding it out. Like I said, and I know this is a term from the 80s, but hey dude, I don't know what I'm going to be into 10 years from now. So, I mean, it's just, but God forbid a straight male fucking says that these days. But honestly, I think this is an important question that needs to be asked. When it comes to violence against trans people, which is a very real, a huge reality in the Western world. I mean, it's all over the world, the Middle East, Asia, everywhere. I mean, it happens everywhere. But in America, it's definitely more, it seems to be more extreme and definitely on the more like 70s action movie level, like we're living in the Warriors or something. Like street violence has made a comeback. And I'm not talking about guns. I'm talking about people being jumped with bats and shit. like, what is your opinion about counteraction against, transgender people literally saying, fuck you, if you lay a hand on me, I'm going to put you on an operating table?
So, there are trans people out there who have that opinion. And, usually, there are militant, violent trans people who will go against people like that. I know one trans girl who smashed a fascist in the head with a bike block, and she had to do time in jail because of it. You know what?
You don't have to say the name, but whoever the fuck you are, God bless you.
And she was part of a black-clad organization that stands up to people who have white supremacist beliefs. So there are people who do that. There are people out there who are shit kickers and do stuff. They have like the die cis scone tattoos and stuff like that, and that's fine. Now here's the only thing is, if I was in a bathroom and someone clocked me, which clocking is a term meaning like they figured out I was trans, they saw I was, or they knew it, or something like that.
Right.
And say it's a TERF, and she came up and she punched me in the face or pepper sprayed me or something like that.
Yeah. Get out of my bathroom!
And I defended myself.
Yeah.
I played into her hands.
Because now
I've shown my male violent tendencies. So the thing of it is, for the same reason that you can't see yourself with a transgender woman sexually, is the same reason some of us are hesitant to defend ourselves. And that's because of the societal perception that would happen. Ben Shapiro was on a talk show basically, and continuously insulted the trans woman he was next to, continuously insulted her and belittled her, called her sir and stuff like that. And she never told her, you keep that up.
You're leaving in an ambulance. I've seen that video.
I would 100% agree with her.
Yeah, and the thing is, it's like, you know what, again, I am an old school motherfucker, and I'm proud of it. I do believe in fighting words. There is such a thing as fighting words.
So basically, what I'm saying is the trans community needs people like you. And that if you see somebody do something to a trans person, kick the shit out of them for us.
Well,
because we can't do it.
Well, I'm gonna definitely end it on this. I'm a skinhead. I'm not a racist. I'm not, I'm just for white people. No, it's like I'm an anti-racist.
I just have some questions.
Yeah, it's like I'm an anti-racist skinhead. I'm an old school Spirit of '69 anti-racist skinhead. I like oi. I like ska. I like drinking. I like sex, and I love people. And I'm fucking proud of all of it. If I saw somebody doing what they could to instigate a confrontation with someone merely because they were trans, the boots are coming out. I mean, it's just the way it is, dude. I do believe that women are just as violent as men. It's biologically proven that women have the same urges as men when it comes to violence and revenge and confrontation. It's the same. I literally think it's because of what women have been taught. Women have been taught, oh, you don't have to do that. There's a man there. No, you're a bad motherfucker. You're a bad bitch, and you got knuckles just like I do.
That's a perception like with with lesbian couples and stuff too, because like people don't realize someone still has to fix the sink and kill the spiders.
Exactly.
So it's just both of them happen to be women.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, I made the joke on Twitter. Actually, I said, straight people always asking lesbians, which one of you kills the spiders and which one of you is on antidepressants?
Oh God. Hell yeah! Which should be the title of a book I write.
Actually, I'm in the process of writing a memoir about what it's like to be trans and explaining it to cis people, and it's called "Teaching Japanese to Dolphins and Other Worthwhile Endeavors."
Oh, I love that.
Dude, I'm buying 10 copies as soon as you publish that. Let me know.
Please tell me you're not joking about that.
No, I've been.
That's the greatest title for a book I've ever heard.
The cover, I basically just have Flipper looking at the camera with like a little bubble that says like arigato,
yes!
Stuff. It's gonna be so dumb.
Oh man, that is great. But you know what? Unfortunately, we got to wrap it up on this. But I can tell you this has been an absolute pleasure, and I can't wait to do this again. I mean, this is totally rad. Again, this is a podcast where people can be heard. Right-wingers even. You know, if you want to come hang and debate and talk and be confronted and confront, you know what? I mean, we're egalitarian. We love people. We want to hear your opinion. And if you're a shithead, we relish the idea of telling you how much of a shithead you are. But regardless, if you're listening to this, if you can hear this, this is your podcast. This is your podcast. Your time to be heard. Speak up. Straight up, because the average person lives to be, 70-something in America because of our shitty diets and the shit we pump into the ozone? We don't have long, so use your time wisely and speak up. But I can tell you this, absolute pleasure, Elizabeth, thank you so much for hanging with us and for cooking for us as you did earlier and just chilling with us and putting up with how obnoxious we are. Or how I am. I had to slide.
No, it's been a pleasure. It absolutely has.
I
just want to say that trans rights are human rights.
Trans rights are human rights. They are civil rights. They are, again, it's not just about the broad spectrum of humanity and all this kind of, you know what? This is your neighbor. This is the person that cooks for you, the person that helps you with some shitty job at your workplace that you don't want to deal with alone, or gives you counsel in a time of hardship or just absolute horror that you can't handle alone. Civil rights equals everybody's happiness, everybody being included and having a seat at the table. So, you know what? I agree. And you know what? This is Joey.
This is Joshua.
Elizabeth.
And this has been Drunken Discourse. You guys have a great fucking night.